What's a subtle sign someone has been through some shit? Disproportionate reactions. Their reactions to most things are normal or even low-key, but occasionally they have a huge response to something minor. Key sign of trauma. Paying very close attention to people's expressions and body language, mostly to see if they're annoyed/angry, underreacting to things, and over-explaining things that probably seem inconsequential to most. End number X200B. The first part is not wanting to set someone off. In tandem with this, most underreact because any expressions of unhappiness or anything that can be perceived as negative usually gets taken as an invitation to be unloaded upon or to have someone upset displace their anger, and then you end up the target of a tirade. A lot of people, myself included, over-explain things because it's a defense mechanism in anticipation of being yelled at or being very harshly criticized because the other person tries to pin the blame on you, even for things out of your control, which is why one over-explains. End number X200B. Edit, as others mentioned, that I forgot because I've been actively working to counteract these apologizing too much and, at least for me, not being able to joke. People constantly point out that I take everything very seriously or that I don't laugh/don't joke well. It's because I've had moments where someone said something so ridiculous and illogical, I think it must be a joke. But they weren't joking and they got quite mad, so from then on, I simply took everything seriously and at face value because on the off chance it wasn't meant to be a joke, I would at least not be yelled at. It's quite scary as a child when you are told something that sounds absurd, you think it must be for comedic value and then react in that way, but then it's just hours of berating later. It's like walking into an ambush. You learn not to risk it. Also, thank you guys for the replies, comments, awards. I've thanked generous awarders and explained to them, but I'll say it here, I'm sad people could relate to this. All your comments about seeing yourselves in this were hard. But at the same time, I am glad you all felt seen and understood. It's more important to me that you all realize you're not alone in your experiences. I hope you're all doing better. They seem to wait for bad things to happen and can't imagine a good or normal outcome. People who have been through some shit are reading these replies and realizing for the first time what their giveaways were all this time. Unusually bad memory for the kind of person they are. Edit, since this is getting so much traction, I'd like to list how I personally deal with this issue. It affects my attention and information retaining abilities, so I do these steps to help with that side. 1. Communication. Tell your friends. Get them to understand that sometimes experiences won't stick with you even if you paid attention and enjoyed it. 2. Write your activities and goals down. You won't be left wondering what you did yesterday and what you wanted to do earlier that day either. Being able to refer back to that information is a lifesaver, both literally and metaphorically. Helps me stay sane. 3. Review conversations and what you may be learning from them. This is a great time to use the second tip. You can write down how you felt or how you interpreted new information. I did that today, for example, since I'm trying to learn how to set up commissions and bank accounts and whatnot. Spending some extra time at the end of the day seriously helped me retain that information. 4. Progress is slow towards a normal memory. It's taken me like 10-ish years to be able to actually feel more like a functioning adult and less like a snail in my mental capacity. I couldn't hang on to any information besides what I needed to pass school tests and trauma. Regaining or repairing your memory takes a lot of time, much like the healing process takes a lot of time. 5. Most importantly, understand your own self. It's similar to depression, where it's very overwhelmingly discouraging and you can't put down an exact source of your issue. Accepting that makes moving forward a lot easier, since you'll spend less time beating yourself up over not having a tangible source of your issue, and more energy to try your best, since that's all you can do. When you see someone deal with something extremely emotionally damaging or physically painful and they act like they don't even notice it, like nothing's changed. When you see that, you know they've seen the worst and nothing is gonna get to them. They have advice, good advice for people who've just experienced trauma. Or for how to handle oddly specific and fucked up situations. When nothing shocks them. Not wanting to bring up anything from their past. Thinking you are telling a fun childhood or military or, whatever, anecdote/story, and looking up to realize from your friends' faces and shocked silence that it is indeed not a fun story and it's actually pretty FD. Enduring pain like it's nothing. Sometimes, even when they want to, they can't cry. Super independent because they learned not to rely on anybody. Preparation. Most people who've dealt with horrendous situations now prepare for the proverbial worst. When shit goes down, they know what to do. What's the most messed up / inappropriate thing that someone's casually said to you? My mom died of cancer when I was 2. When I was roughly 6, my older siblings told me that my mom and I were playing in the front yard and I kicked a ball into the road, and when she went to get it she got hit by a garbage truck and that's how she died. I didn't find out the truth till a few years later. Odd that I have zero relationship with my family now. Your brother is only nice to you because he's not threatened by you or your partner. If you were successful and she were pretty, he wouldn't be nice to either of you. Mom. I stretched in class, sitting in the front seat, and my teacher clapped and said, "And that's why I put you types of girls up front." I was in 6th grade. He was fired the next year for watching porn in class, along with countless complaints from other girls along with their parents. Mr. B, I hope you are living a lonely life, fucking perv. Edit, I'm from Indiana so it's prob not your teacher, but it makes me so sad this has happened so much. My mom once told me that the renovation / expansion of the volunteer fire department down the road from her would lower the property value of her house because volunteer firefighters are pedophiles. No, I don't have any idea where that came from. If no one was in this class with us, I'd rape you right now. It hurt a lot when my mom would get drunk and cry to me that she wishes I had passed away instead of my father. It hurt a lot more when she said it offhandedly and sober though. I'm okay now, but fuck, man. I was 7. I didn't deserve that shit. People don't take me seriously because I'm pretty. You're so lucky not to have that problem. My nan's sister, at our first meeting, said to 14-year-old me, "You look like a fat leek," but in Dutch. I was flabbergasted. Fun fact. When she died a couple of years ago, during the funeral, her daughter gave a speech and told a lot of secrets about how her mum was a total bitch and narcissist, abused her and made her life a living hell. The whole church was in shock and they sort of cancelled the funeral due to all the consternation. My ex-wife, everyone hates you, they can't stand being around you. Never could figure out why she said that. 30 years later, I'm still friends with the people that supposedly hated me. You got raped by a senior? Really? Did you like it? Hard to beat that one. I was 14. The whole school knew because a guidance counselor told a group of my friends so they could support me. That was asked by a random student in a busy hallway. I'm going to see how much I can break that man down. How many times I can make him cry. An old work colleague said to me about another member of staff suffering from depression and stress and who was likely to have suicidal thoughts. I left not long after. Fuck that sick fuck. I can't wait for you to be blind, your art gets better and better. I am severely visually impaired, losing my vision to a degenerative disease. I am an artist. I paint and create work with themes sometimes relevant to my vision loss. Someone I knew said this to me, in front of a group of people at dinner 2 years ago. I was 32 at the time. Edit. This was not said as a joke, they were 100% serious, and proceeded to defend the point. Middle of a grocery store. I'm 18 or 19. A man 50+ years old walks up to me, puts his arm around my shoulders, stares down at my breasts, and says, "Damn, girl, can you see your feet?" When laying sick in a hospital bed, needing a bed wash from a nurse. She lifted my hospital gown up and goes, "Those are the smallest tits I've ever seen." I was 17. What a cunt. I had a dentist say that I needed to work on that for when I had a boyfriend when I was gagging during whatever the hell he was doing. I think I was 11. I did not understand it at all until I was much older and saw like the second episode of Glee where a gag reflex comment is made. I asked my mum about it and she explained and I was like, oh. Oh, is that why, dentist, said this? She was not thrilled that I'd waited so long to tell her. What made you realize the relationship was over? When I got a Facebook message from another dude saying your wife is cheating on us. He thought we had one of those open relationships. Editing to add. This happened a little over 10 years ago. I got custody of the kid, I'm remarried, great job, new house, I'm doing good. And I also laugh about it when I think back on it. I once googled how do you know when a relationship is over and the top suggestion was you Google it. When I was crying more than laughing. Constant hurt and confusion, didn't feel like the love was reciprocated. When I found sexts between her and my friend. He kept breaking up with me and then making up with me. Broke up with me on my birthday, because he wasn't getting my undivided attention as my best friend was there, Called me for 6 months after trying to get back with me. Called me a fucking weasel. His family still tries to reach out over 11 years later. I realized that I wouldn't care if he cheated on me and would have been quite happy if he left me for someone else. I felt trapped and didn't know how to leave at the time. Edit, wow, this is by far my most popular comment on anything, lol. We have a child together and share custody, so he will always be in my life, but it's still better than having to walk on eggshells in my own home. I'm very sorry to those of you going through this now. I hope you find happiness one day. When I started fantasizing about what it would be like to be completely alone. When I finally learned to listen to her actions, not her words. My ex, who was a major control freak, worked for an attorney. As a tool to get her way, she would prepare divorce papers and bring them home. The third time she pulled this, I signed them and made her file them. Game over. When her sister called me and said, "You're a really nice guy and I like you. Remember Jason? You do? Yeah, well, she's fucking him in the other room as we speak." That's pretty much when I knew. She told me I should be happy my dad died because I got an inheritance. He made me feel more lonely while we're together than if I were to be single. When I realized I only smiled, laughed, and had fun when he wasn't around. When he was, I walked on eggshells so he wouldn't get mad. Edit, wow, I'm surprised, and a little saddened, that this has gotten so many responses. If your situation is similar, from either perspective, there's no shame in walking away. Prioritize yourself and your mental health to help put you in a healthier situation. The night he told me that I was no longer allowed to drive anywhere by myself, that he would keep the keys and I would have to ask him to drive me places so he knew where I was going and who I was with. I was gone the next day after 16 years. Edit, wow, never, ever thought anyone would even read what I posted. I am tearing up right now from the support. When I decided to not text her to see if she would ever start a conversation, and did not text me for an entire month.